It is still 5 o'clock on August 28th, 2024, and this is the hearing examiner hearing. We will start with an opening statement from Mr. Kevin Holmes with staff.
Thank you, Ms. Canning. Good evening and welcome to the City of Boise Hearing Examiner's Public Hearing. A few things to start out with for tonight's proceeding. First off, everyone from the public entering the hearing virtually, which as of right now is nobody, has been automatically muted and cannot speak. I think we can probably skip this section since no one is actually here to hear that. But there are folks that can attend virtually, and if anyone comes online, they will have the ability to speak on this item. So our procedures for public hearings begin with a presentation from the planning team. Then we'll go to the applicant and then the representative from the Registered Neighborhood Association, if there is one, and followed by questions from the hearing examiner. After that, we proceed to public testimony, starting with those that are in person, then those who signed up on the sign-up sheet in advance, and finally, anyone who raises their hand virtually. If you are attending through your telephone, you can type *9 to raise your hand. Each speaker should state their name and address for the record before beginning their public testimony, and each member of the public is allowed up to 3 minutes for testimony. We are strict with this time as it is limited in code. Finally, the applicant is allowed time for rebuttal, after which the hearing will be closed and the hearing examiner will deliberate and render a decision. Ms. Canning, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So I will call this meeting to order, and I am an independent decision maker hired by the City of Boise and approved by the City Council. I make decisions on variances and on appeals. Any request to reconsider these decisions must be formally requested in writing pursuant to City Code. We only use the consent agenda to adopt findings related to previous decisions. All items that are placed on the consent agenda are approved without further public comment. For items not on the consent agenda, we also use the consent agenda to approve meeting minutes. For items not on the consent agenda, we will hold a full public hearing in the order just detailed a few minutes ago with staff. And thank you all for attending tonight. We have one item on the agenda. And Anna Canning, will be the hearing examiner tonight. So our first item on the agenda is the approval of minutes from July 24th, 2024 at 5 p.m. And without objection, I will place the minutes on our July 24th meeting on the consent agenda. And at this time, I would like to accept those minutes for the record. All right, now we'll move on to new business. So before us, we have item CVA 24-00010 located at 4611 West Mason Drive. And this is a variance to exceed the maximum fence height in the front setback on 0.19 acres in an R1C residential traditional zone. And with that, I'll hand it over to Ms. Lyle.
Good evening, Ms. Caney. The item before you is CBA 2410. As you said, a variance to exceed the maximum fence height within the front setback on 0.19 acres located at 4611 Mason Drive in the R1C zone. The applicant has installed a 10-foot tall fence structure within the front setback in order to maintain privacy from neighbors to the west. Fences in residential zoning districts are limited to 6 feet within the rear and side setback and 3 feet within the front setback for solid fences. In December of 2023, a code compliance case was opened concerning the fence structure in question. The applicant submitted photos of cameras, motion detectors, and lights on the neighboring property pointing at her home and cited a lack of privacy and security on her property as a hardship for the proposed variance. However, the development code does not consider external factors such as privacy concerns as a hardship associated with the property itself. As the property is regularly shaped without topographical irregularities or other site constraints, the proposal does not meet the threshold of a hardship as considered by the development code. The privacy and security concerns raised by the applicant are not unique to the subject property and are most appropriate to be resolved as a civil matter rather than a zoning matter. Additionally, the granting of a variance would provide a special privilege to the subject property not allowed to other properties in the zoning district. Requests to exceed the fence height are common and do not typically meet the threshold for a variance. The applicant has planted landscaping along the property line as allowed by the development code, which will alleviate some of the privacy concerns upon maturity. Alternatively, the applicant could extend the existing structure in a way that utilizes provisions for reduced setbacks, such as an allowance for a front porch to encroach up to 5 feet in the setback. And finally, the applicant could move the existing fences outside of all setbacks to provide privacy in a way that is allowed by the development code. While the code does allow ornamental gate or entry to exceed the height limit within the front or street side setback, the proposal is not for a gate and does not provide access to the right-of-way as an ornamental gate typically would. Additionally, the option for director determination to allow additional fence height is to mitigate light impacts from the public right-of-way, such as vehicle headlights, and not consistent with privacy concerns. Public comment was received both in support and opposition to the request. The comment in support cited privacy and security concerns, and the opposition disputed some of the applicant's original claims, including claims that the structure is within the side setbacks as well as the front setback. The lack of agreement on the facts of the matter further support the need to resolve this issue as a civil matter rather than through zoning. Regardless of the location of the property line, all fences must meet all code requirements unless a variance is allowed. As such, the planning team recommends denial, and I will stand for any questions.
I have none right now. Thank you. All right, with that, we will now hear from the applicant. Don't worry. Pushing the button is good. Sometimes I forget that too.
Which button?
There you go. Go ahead and say
Okay.
something. We'll see if the microphone is
Is
on.
it working?
Seems to be. Can you please state your name and address for the record?
My name's Diana Salzman. I live at 4611 West Mason Drive.
Thank you.
The reason why I would like this curtain, like it's a curtain to stay up, it's not a fence, to stay up is for many years now, I've been harassed by my neighbors. They have spotlights, flashing strobe lights, motion detectors, multiple cameras, all shining in my yard and in my fence or in my windows. The motion detectors, there's one that when I'm sitting in my dining room, every time I lift my fork, you can see the red light go on the motion detector. I don't even have privacy in my own dining room. I like to have this curtain up because then the motion detectors don't notify him that every time I step outside. When right now, if I do step outside, he'll walk out there, he taunts me. He puts his fingers up to his lips and flicks his tongue in and out. He grabs his crotch, tells me how I want him. I want to see him naked. He's got vulgar flashing signs in his yard directed towards me. I just want some privacy. It's every human's basic right to have privacy, and that's all I'm wanting. And I have arborvitae over there, but I could only afford to buy the little ones. The 10 feet tall ones cost more than I could afford. So I'm waiting for them to grow. And as soon as they get tall enough that block all of this, then I want to take this structure down. But in the meantime, I just wanted up there to provide me with some privacy from these people. And they wear fanny packs with loaded weapons in them at all times. So I'm concerned for my safety. I just assume they not know when I'm out in my yard because they scare me. And I had permission from a city code compliance officer to put this curtain up. I have a letter from him, not only telling me that it was okay, but giving me the specifics on how to put it up. And that was Lee Hoffman that gave me that permission. And then shortly after that, I was given a notice of violation. So I'm confused as to why I was given permission and then suddenly it was revoked. So
I am too. We'll work through that. We'll go ahead and finish your presentation and then I'll ask some questions.
okay. And I've placed fake ivy over this curtain to make it blend in with the scenery. It looks like vegetation. Most people can't even see it until they come right up to my house and they, oh, now they notice it, but it's not noticeable. It blends in with the scenery, with the vegetation, and it gives me privacy. Can't think of anything else. I have photos, but
Are they different than the photos you submitted with the application?
no, I sent her the new ones. These
Okay.
I submitted.
All right. Is that all you have for your presentation?
I guess.
Okay, so I'm going to ask, so go ahead and stay on there for a second. I'm going to ask staff a couple questions and then,
Okay.
so Ms. Lyle, were you aware of that letter from, I'm sorry, I missed the name.
Lee Hoffman.
Lee Hoffman? Is he a code enforcement or was he a code enforcement?
Ms. Canning, the code enforcement violation has been an ongoing concern. And I know that there was a little confusion, I think initially, with the change from the legacy to the modern zoning code. There was confusion about what the setbacks actually were. And I think that is when the 3 foot versus the 5 foot, she was told that the 3 foot was okay versus the 5 foot, which is actually the setback in the zone.
Oh, okay.
That's my understanding anyway.
So the letter was written when the draft stated 3 feet instead of the adopted 5 feet. Is that what you're?
Madam Canning, I believe that that was the situation. Again, I don't believe that code enforcement officer actually works for the city anymore, so it's a little hard to verify.
Okay.
But there was some confusion in the timeframe of the adoption of the zoning code of what the setback actually was.
Okay. Did you understand that explanation?
Yes.
Okay. And did you understand why staff have recommended denial for the variance?
Yes.
Okay. And then did you receive a copy of the letter that came after the staff report from your neighbors? There's
Okay.
The late correspondence.
the late correspondence.
No, my computer's in the shop,
Okay.
so I don't have access to my email right now. So I won't get it
So-
back till Saturday. Sorry.
No, that's okay. So the way the hearing is going to work, we hear from you and then we see if there's anybody else here to talk and your neighbors are probably going to talk and then you'll have a chance for rebuttal.
Okay.
I have a copy of the letter. If staff doesn't have an extra copy, I have one.
I do have
Um,
a copy. This was the letter that was sent out on Friday morning that you did respond to me to after the late correspondence was closed.
Oh, okay. And I have some witnesses also.
Okay, I just, during the rebuttal time, if there's something in the written testimony that you'd like to rebut, then that's the time to do it. I just letting you know how it works.
Okay.
That's all, okay?
Okay.
So, there's some question as to how many lights and whether there's strobe lights and whether there's, motion sensors. So you may want to look at that
Yeah.
letter.
I've
Okay.
got photos from today.
Okay. That's
those.
all. Just wanted to do that. And if you don't have any more, we'll move on with the rest of the hearing.
Yeah, they
Thank you.
claim that they've taken them down, but I have photos. They're not taken down yet.
Okay.
So,
So, actually, you can stay there. Ms. Lyle, did you want to run the pictures and you can narrate these pictures if you'd like?
okay. So she's claiming that I have a light that shines 2 houses down on the corner of my house. There's no light there. That's my camera and that's a solar panel. What she's seeing is they have an LED light on the corner of their house that shines onto my property and is reflecting back at them. That's their light that's shining. I don't have a light there.
Okay, next
So-
picture.
They're claiming that they've taken down the cameras that were up on poles. They took the cameras down, but the poles are still there. So after this is over, he's going to put those cameras back up on those poles.
Okay,
That's taken today to show that the poles are still out there.
okay.
Those are the poles.
The polls. Okay, next one.
Yeah. Oh, people that come to my house have to look at this vulgar light shining in my windows.
Wow.
That's
Okay.
vulgar and obscene, and that's part of why this curtain is up. I shouldn't have to look at stuff like that.
Okay. Is that the end?
Those are the new photos,
Okay,
yeah.
thank you so much. Okay, so before we get to the neighbor, I have to go through just a couple more things and then we'll get to you. I saw your hand come up. I'm not trying to ignore you, I know. Is there anyone representing the neighborhood association, perhaps online?
We do have a Lily Hag online. Lily, if you're representing the neighborhood association, can you please virtually raise your hand? I don't believe so, though.
Okay. And now we're going to open the public hearings, starting with the sign up sheet. Did we have a sign up sheet? Okay. So I know there's someone in the audience. So would you like to come up and testify, sir?
She's much more.
Okay, ma'am,
I get to.
Mrs. Horvath, come up, go ahead and come on up. And please state your name and address for the record, if you would.
My name is Virginia Horvath and I reside at 4703 Mason Drive, next door to Miss Saltzman. I have lived there for over 40 years.
Oh, but it looks like you need to turn the
Oh,
speaker on again. It's on the top?
it's up here?
Green, you're good. Just lower it a little bit.
Oh. Are we good?
There you go.
Okay. My name is Virginia Horvath and I reside at 4703 West Mason, next door to Miss Salzman. I have lived there for over 40 years. Okay, first of all, I want to say that the only way she could see into our yard or anything is if she boosts herself up and looks over the 6-foot fence, or if she has her cameras focused in our yard. So any pictures that you see that's the case. All right. Oh, yeah. Okay, okay. Well, first of all, I don't believe this forum was ever intended to be for neighbor bashing. But after reading the documents that were uploaded by Ms. Salzman for the variance and just hearing what I've heard, I'm afraid that's the direction she's taken. However, there are two sides to every story, so please bear with me while I give a bit of background. Our houses are approximately 16 feet apart with bedroom windows directly facing each other. In January 2018, she placed 4 cameras in her bedroom windows that faced our bedroom windows. We planted foliage to block them, but a roof was created that has grown wider ever since. Some negative events took place, and so we, on the advice of police, put up a surveillance system in May of 2018 to have proof of what was happening. This resulted in formal charges for trespassing and disturbing the peace against Ms. Salzman in 2019. We were headed for a jury trial, but charges were dropped in 2020 due to the COVID epidemic. The point of this is that our 6 cameras are there for a very good reason. They are there to protect us and our property. They are there to provide proof if there are any problems. Ms. Salzman also has cameras. She has a professionally installed dome camera system with multiple cameras, 4 of which are within view of our home and yard. We rely entirely on plants for some measure of privacy. Ms. Salzman's letter of intent dated 7/15/24 is not entirely accurate. We do not have motion detectors or spotlights. We don't have strobe light. We have never had a strobe light. Well, she has directed one at us from her house. She does have an extremely bright motion light, approximately 12 feet up on the side of her house that faces us, and it lights up the whole yard, our whole yard. Also, most of the photos she submitted are outdated and no longer apply. I am sure you realize that with this new position of hearing examiner, precedent is being set with every decision. The criteria for a variance have not been met. Please do not undermine city ordinances with an approval that ignores them. Please enforce all setback and height restrictions as currently written in city code.
Thank
Thank
you very
you.
much.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right, is there anyone online who would like to testify? Or, I'm sorry, is there anyone else in the audience that would like to testify? Please state your name and address for the record.
Janice Hyatt, and I
You
live,
might have to even lower it a little more. There we go.
that better? My name's Janice Hyatt, and I live at 7006 West Ashland Drive here in Boise. And, you know, this is just so crazy. I've known Diana for over 60 years. We went to grade school together. She has always been a nice person, never caused trouble. She served 3 tours of duty across the ocean for our country. And then she comes home to this kind of crap that's going on. And it's so unreal. This man stands at the fence and he moves like a cow. He says, move like that. Just stuff like that. And constantly he waters her. She put out a wooden fence. He waters it a couple times a day because he wants it to rot, I'm sure. I don't know why else that would happen. But I went to a party at Diana's for a graduation party. And he comes out and makes as much noise and crap as he can possibly do to make her feel stupid in front of her friends. Well, it kind of backfired because it doesn't make her look stupid. We already know that this kind of stuff has been going on for a long time, and it's been very hard on her, very stressful for her. It just makes me want to cry when I see how she has been treated by these people. They have no right to treat her like that. She's never done anything terrible to them. Matter of fact, when she went on one of her tours of duty, she left a key for them. That's back in the days when they used to be somewhat friends, I guess, and left a key for them so they could go and feed her cats or dogs or whatever she had at the time and get her mail in. But she found out later at one of her little court appearances that they had gone through her stuff in her house, but the judge says, you gave them a key. Does that give somebody a right to go through your home and look at every little detail of your place? And she had to put up black curtains in her blackout curtains on this whole side of her house in every window to keep them from looking in her window with cameras. That's just unrealistic to me. And it makes me sad that anybody could get away with that. This is America, for Pete's sakes. I mean, come on. I just don't think it should be tolerated, but that's my opinion and I'm sticking to it.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience? Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Beverly Bracewell. My address is 4801 South Umatilla Avenue. I would like to speak to the fact that cameras sitting in the windows of her house. I've known Diana for over 18 years and I have been to her house multiple times and have never seen a window with a camera in it pointing at any direction at all. I do know that their cameras and spotlights and all of that generated Diana to buy a system attached where the technician had to come out and actually put it on her house. She can't move it. She can't change it. Her films, her cameras point only directly in her yard. I have seen on her cameras and the views of their cameras that they don't shine in their yard at all. If I was concerned about the safety of my own yard, my cameras would be pointed at my yard, not 3/4 of the way over into the other neighbor's yard. Diana was my first sergeant when I worked out at the Guard. I was lieutenant colonel and commander, and she was a stellar performance. Never had any issues with Diana, and I can say right now still that I see no issues with Diana. I too am concerned for her safety because I know the habits. I've seen what's been going on. Like I say, I've known her for over 18 years. And for many years, there was never a problem of any kind. And then all of a sudden, like 7 years ago or whatever, something happened and triggered this man to start stalking her. And I think in every view, it is stalking. There is a camera posted on the top of their side of their house, points directly into her bathroom on her main level. I've seen it. I've seen him outside harassing, bullying, every kind of action you can think of. I can pull up into the driveway and I get somebody coming out and then they're standing there like that, just staring as if something's going to happen. I don't know. What else was I going to say? No cameras in the windows, as was stated by Mrs. Horvath. Never seen them. Diana put her cameras up in self-defense. And like I say, she can't move them and alter them to where I know that they have theirs on the posts along in their backyard. They may be removed, but now they have been directed by one of the courts. I think we had facilitation and they were requested to remove the spotlights and take the poles down. They did nothing. So the harassment continues over these last several years. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you so much. And Mr. Horvath, did you want to, you need to come up to the podium and state your name and address and if you want to say something.
Bill Horvath, 4703 Mason Drive. What else do you need?
That's it? Just
I
whatever you
live
want to
there.
say.
I live next door to her. I know we don't have to take an oath about telling the truth, but there hasn't been too much truth told. Don't have any idea who these two are with Diana.
Thank you, sir. Now, we had someone online? Do they want to testify?
Yes, Ms. Canning, we do have one person online, Lily Hag. Lily, if you'd like to testify, can you virtually raise your hand, please? Doesn't look like it, Ms. Canning, so I think we can move on.
Okay. All right. Ms. Guzman, now is the time that you may, this is your time for rebuttal. So it's your time to kind of summarize what you've heard and anything you want to clarify. It's not a time for new testimony, just to kind of comment on other things that have been said or the written testimony provided.
What she's showing there is the views of my cameras. Oh, sorry. Those are the views of my cameras. They monitor my own yard only. They don't spill over into anybody else's yard. This is the first three. And then that's the other three. The one there on the bottom left does look into their front yard, but if you walk down the street, you can also look in their front yard. I don't have any cameras shining in their windows or looking in their backyard. That sign that they have, the flashing strobe light that strobes move evil, C word.
Yeah.
My house sits up higher than their house. I can look out my window and see that sign. I don't have to get on a ladder. I don't have to have cameras up on the roof of my house. I can look out my window and see that. The windows or the cameras that she's claiming were in my windows, I have no idea what she's talking about. I've never had cameras in any of my windows. I've had roommates living in those bedrooms. I don't know if they've had cameras. I don't go into their rooms. I don't snoop through their things, but I have never had a camera in any window. The ones I have are mounted on the corners of my house. And the motion light that's on the side of my house is programmed to only stay on for 30 seconds. And it lights up my stairwell so that night you can walk down the stairs without falling and getting injured. It stays on for 30 seconds and then goes off unless there's further motion. So I don't know what their problem is with that. And I don't know. And that right there is a solar panel that lights up the light. It's not a light. It's
a solar
I'm
panel.
sorry, what?
With Ms. Salzman,
Solar
Ms.
panel
Salzman,
Sir,
that
sir,
charges
we-
the
Ms.
light.
Salzman,
I'm sorry.
just go ahead and finish your testimony.
That's
Wrap
a
things up.
solar panel that charges the light that's over my stairwell.
Okay,
It's not a light.
okay.
It does not light up at all. The only time the photos that she's showing is their light shining on it and reflecting back.
Okay,
There's no light there on that side of my house.
okay.
So I know they're back there calling me a liar, but that's,
And I apologize, I called you Guzman, you're Salzman. Sorry
Yeah,
about that. I think my
Okay.
first spouse was named Diane Guzman, so that's where I got it from. Sorry about that.
that was on Breaking Bad.
Did you have anything else to say, Ms. Salzman?
No, I
Okay.
guess,
Thank you.
but the
All right. Okay, sir. Sir, you had your chance. I'm sorry. So I did want to ask. No, I didn't. I think I already got all my questions answered. All right, so I'm going to close the hearing now and render a decision. So I've listened, tried to listen for anything, quite honestly, that would be relevant to the variance. And unfortunately, the discussions we've had today all are about neighborhood relations that have gone horribly awry. But unfortunately, when it comes to the variance, I am not seeing anything that says there's an unusual feature of your property or of your neighborhood or of your homes that would justify a variance. So I empathize with what you're going through. I know it's difficult to have poor relations with your neighbors, but unfortunately, a variance is not the solution. I'm sorry. I've looked through every bit of code I could find to try and help you out. I really have pored over the code for hours, literally trying to find some solution, and I couldn't find one for you. But a variance, I just can't make the findings. So I'm sorry for that. I do empathize. And I didn't hear anything tonight that would justify it as well, other than your house is a bit higher than the neighboring property, but that isn't sufficient. So I am going to For the record, this is the decision of the hearing examiner, and my decision is to deny the variance request. And based on the findings presented by Ms. Lyle in the staff report, in particular, that there's not an undue hardship associated with the site itself that justifies the granting of a variance, and that also granting the variance for the additional height will grant a special privilege to the subject property. And with that, that's my decision, and we're adjourned. I do. I'll talk to you offline for a second. I've got some for you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for coming. Thank you for your testimony.